Top U.S. military officials and national security officials are warning about Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. They've provided serious warnings before, but they are ramping up their warnings this week based on the trip that Kushner and Witkoff are on right now. They visited Israel in the past 24 hours and met with Netanyahu. They also said they met with Hamas. I'll show you what they did in just a moment. Also, in the next week or two, according to Russia's state TV TASS, they say that Kushner and Witkoff will be arriving in Moscow to meet with Putin in order to bring important, quote, deliverables to Putin. The top military and national security experts I've spoken to say that this is part of Donald Trump's plan in order to try and force Zelensky to surrender. The plan included depriving Zelensky of the needed Patriot interceptors, then allowing Russia to build its missile systems on the border of Ukraine in order to pose an existential threat heading into the winter, and then right before Russia makes good on its threat, to have Witkoff and Kushner show up first. This would be their first time in Ukraine, and try to extract a surrender from Zelensky to deliver the message that you don't have the cards. That's what I'm hearing from my military sources. And if you look at just what Russia's state TV is saying, they're essentially saying the same thing as well. We're seeing a lot of chatter in military and national security circles right now as all of this is going down. You think about what's gone down in the past 48 hours as well. You have Donald Trump praising Kim Jong-un and attacking South Korea. You have Donald Trump removing our last aircraft carrier from the Pacific, which is the USS George Washington, and moving that to the Persian Gulf, essentially ceding full naval dominance to China. And you've got our top national security and military experts leaking the following to the Atlantic. NATO's nightmare. The US and Europe have no clear plan for a joint attack from Russia and China. This article talks about a general who runs NATO in Europe for the United States, General Alexis Grinkowicz. I've covered him a lot over the past 18 months, as you know. He warned last year of the possibility of a joint attack on NATO by both China and Russia. I'm not sure Grinkowicz even realized that they may not even need to do that as Donald Trump destroys the NATO alliance from within, which is what a lot of the top generals and national security advisors say, that basically this tour by Kushner and Witkoff is kind of part of that plan, they speculate. But that's where we're at right now. So let's talk about what went down with Kushner and Witkoff in the past 24 to 48 hours. But let's take a look at what's happening as well. This is from TASS. This is Russia's state media. Witkoff Kushner may bring new proposals on Ukraine to Moscow. And they cite a, quote, Russian expert on American affairs, Oleg Karpovich. And again, this is previewing what's going to happen. It says that Donald Trump's envoy Witkoff, along with Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, are expected to arrive in Moscow equipped with tangible proposals for resolving the Ukrainian crisis. That's how they refer to it in Russia. According to Oleg Karpovich, Witkoff and Kushner will not come empty-handed. They are bringing specific ideas. Their visit would be pointless without concrete proposals. They are serving as intermediaries engaged in shuttle diplomacy. An article from Bloomberg a few days back was titled as well, Putin is willing to meet U.S. envoys again on Ukraine, Sergei Lavrov says. And Sergei Lavrov is their foreign minister. And the way it's even being phrased is, we will allow you to show up. So it's even framed from a position of power. We've seen these leaks as well. Russia is expanding its long-range strike drone network. Satellite imagery reveals growing launch infrastructure for these one-way attack drones, including the capability of launching heavier, higher-performing types. Satellite images have been leaked to the Telegraph. You can see the images here. with obvious capabilities of reaching NATO countries. And this is also what lots of people are saying. Top military generals and national security advisors are saying that Kushner and Witkoff are going to be delivering this message to Ukraine. And it's part of Donald Trump's attack on NATO as well. What I'm hearing from my sources is that it's a combination of maliciousness and incompetence when you have Dumb and Dumber, Kushner and Witkoff together involved on this tour where they first visited Netanyahu. Let's talk about that now. And then they're going to be on their way to meet Vladimir Putin. In my opinion, and from what I'm hearing after trying to get Zelensky to make a deal, which in Trump's mind is getting Zelensky to surrender. This was part of the plan dating back to when Putin, for a long time, when Trump took office, in my opinion, but most recently, the July 4th phone call between Putin and Trump for 90 minutes on America's 250th anniversary, 250th B-Day. They spoke for 90 minutes. And my view was the plan was hatched. And this is what I'm hearing as well. Promise Zelensky you would give interceptors, or you would give an interceptor license, tap Zelensky along, and then at the end of July, say you're not going to provide it. Allow Russia to build its military fortifications and its offensive capabilities, and then leave Zelensky hanging heading into the winter. And I think Zelensky realized what was going down. Zelensky was trying different tactics. I think that's part of the Laura Loomer stuff that he was doing, which I thought was odd, but I think it was an attempt to try to, get to Donald Trump or preempt what he saw was happening. And I think a lot of the strikes we're seeing by Zelensky on those Wildberries logistical facilities are reflective of kind of throwing everything they can at what they believe can be helping the Russia in their military logistics and to bring the fight to Russia's home, beyond kind of the front, Russia's kind of rear, which lots of people thought would be untouchable, to make pain in the Russian stock market and the economy, to hopefully get the people to say enough is enough, let's end this war, at the risk of striking these wild berries and having a certain type of reaction and response. So you had Kushner in Israel in the past 24 hours, and lots of people said that this was part of Kushner's master plan. You know what remember back in the World Economic Forum, Davos, at the beginning of this year. I know so much has happened that lots of people forget, in Davos, one of the things that Kushner laid out is what he referred to as his master plan. He wanted to build 180 Trump and Kushner and right-wing oligarch skyscrapers in Gaza. They were calling it New Gaza and New Rafah. And they were saying that there would be AI networks and data centers and luxury hotels. And this was part of their plan to just take over Gaza and turn it into a tourist attraction for Trump resorts. And he talked about the master plan when he was at the Davos. And that was what a sick term to use. Their master plan is how he called it. And I'll just remind you what he meant by what he said with his master plan. If you're like, Ben, wait, could this never happen? Yeah. January 2026. So a lot of our top generals and national security officials are warning that part of what his plan was at this point was to basically go tell Hamas, look, this is what we're doing, because Hamas previously agreed to the 15-point plan. Trump 2 weeks ago said they've agreed to the border peace plan. Netanyahu said, we're never going to agree to peace at all. He said, we're never going to agree to a Palestinian state. We're never going to agree to the peace deal. That was the 15-point plan from the Board of Peace. And then what was reported was basically, this is how it was reported on CNN and others. Kushner spent 4 hours pressing Netanyahu to advance Trump's Gaza ceasefire plan. Netanyahu resisted, citing the October elections and insisting Hamas fully disarm before any withdrawal, even though 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, Trump said that the parties agreed to terms. And then While Kushner was there, Israel's far-right national security minister, Ben Gvir, said that they want to do nightly targeted assassinations in Gaza. They're not even people. We need to do nightly targeted assassinations, he said. Anyway, let me remind you, this was Kushner's speech, just so you can hear it for yourself, at the World Economic Forum back in January.
We've developed ways to redevelop Gaza. Gaza, as President Trump's been saying, has amazing potential, and this is for the people of Gaza. We've developed it into zones. In the beginning, we were toying with the idea of saying, let's build a free zone, and then we have a Hamas zone. And then we said, you know what, let's just plan for catastrophic success. Hamas signed a deal to demilitarize. That is what we are going to enforce. People ask us what our plan B is. We do not have a plan B. We have a plan. We signed an agreement. We are all committed to making that agreement work. There's a master plan. We'll be doing it in phasing. In the Middle East, they build cities like this in, 2-3 million people. They build this in 3 years. And so stuff like this is very doable if we make it happen. Rothel will start with. This will show a lot of workforce housing. We think this could be done in 2-3 years. We've already started removing the rubble and doing some of the demolition. And then New Gaza. It could be a hope. It could be a destination, have a lot of industry, and really be a place that the people there can thrive, have great employment. Once this starts going, we think there should be 100% full employment and opportunity for everybody there. And we have a lot of data on what can be, but we think that this really gives the Gazan people an opportunity to live their aspirations. But it all starts with security, and it all starts with governance.
Now, Kushner spoke today after meeting with Hamas and meeting with Netanyahu, and what he seemed to be saying was nobody wants to pour more money into Gaza if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists, is what he said was happening there. And lots of people were saying, remember back in 2021, Kushner said basically there was peace in the region. Remember what he said in 2021? Yeah, I think I have the article. Jared Kushner takes credit for bringing Arab-Israeli conflict to its last vestiges in new op-ed, March 15th, 2021. So let me just show you what Kushner's now saying in August of 2026. Here, play this clip.
Today we had a very, very good meeting. We were there for almost 4 hours with him and his team going through all the different details. I think there were some valid concerns that they raised that we were able to address. And we were able to go through some of the misunderstandings and misinformation that's been out about it as well. I mean, certain things like we're very committed to the fact that we have a plan to rebuild Gaza, but we will not allow Gaza to be rebuilt until the demilitarization occurs. Nobody wants to put more money into a place that's gone on for so long until if it's just going to be taken over by terrorists or blown up again. We're also not going to restrict Israel's right to defend itself if there are any imminent threats, and so we had to clarify what that means. We could be seeing progress, as much as in as little as 30 days, hopefully on starting to take some of the weapons out, and hopefully filling in some of the tunnels as well in the next 60 to 90 days as well. So progress could come quite soon, but we do need cooperation from both sides, and we're going to hopefully get through. But we've made a lot of progress to get here. For Israel, we think this is a win-win situation because if Hamas actually gives over the weapons and the tunnels, willingly over the next 60 to 90 days, that obviously would be the elimination of a huge security threat for Israel, almost an unthinkable achievement. And if they don't follow through now on their commitment, everyone will see that they're not genuine about peace, and then Israel will have a lot more support from the U.S. and others to go and finish the job in the appropriate way.
Now let me interrupt for just a moment with some big news. The climate alarm right now is blaring across Europe as extreme heat and massive wildfires tear through parts of France and Spain, forcing hundreds of thousands of people to evacuate. Some fires have become so intense that they're generating so-called fire clouds, which can create their own winds and lightning. This comes after Western Europe experienced its hottest June on record, with an estimated 10,000 excess heat-related deaths during the late June heat wave. Steve Trent, founder and CEO of the Environmental Justice Foundation, writes in a new piece for The Ecologist that the warning signs are now coming from every direction. But, and I want to be clear about this, Trent says that there are solutions. He argues government should phase out fossil fuel subsidies, stop approving new oil, gas, and coal projects, dramatically expand renewable energy, and modernize electrical grids. He also calls for greater investment in disaster preparedness and for protecting forests, wetlands, and oceans that could help reduce the impact of extreme weather. And, well, here's where the United States comes in. At the very moment experts like Trent argue that governments need to lean into renewable energy, the Trump administration is moving in in the opposite direction, championing fossil fuels, attacking wind and solar projects, and retreating from international climate efforts. Trent argues that businesses should also stop financing fossil fuel expansion, cut emissions throughout their supply chains, and invest heavily in renewable energy, storage, and efficiency. And he says that this isn't simply about the environment. Renewable energy is increasingly cost competitive, meaning that climate action can also mean new investment, greater energy independence, and stronger economies. That's the latest. Now I want to hear from you. Should politicians be making renewable energy like wind and solar a bigger priority? And what do you think about the Trump administration moving away from clean energy while experts are calling for countries to do precisely the opposite? Let me know right now in the comments. I want to hear from you. Ben, back to you.
And Kushner was asked about, well, what's the status of Iran? You have you and Witkoff are supposed to be the envoys. So what's the latest, envoys? Here's what he says. Here, play this clip.
Today, the memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran expires. Where do negotiations stand with the Iranian regime?
Yeah, so right now, President Trump's been very focused on the economic pressure. He really feels strongly about the blockade. If you look at the Iranian economy, it's way worse off. It was bad before the war. It's way worse off now. But President Trump's been very clear on why he took the actions he took, which is he believes that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if Iran is willing to, finish the deal that they've been discussing with us to give up their ability to create a nuclear weapon, then obviously he's willing to make a deal that could be great for the Iranian people, and he's it's something he would be open to. But right now, they're not showing any interest in doing something that makes sense for us.
What do you see as the biggest roadblock to reaching an agreement with Iran?
They have to be willing to make a real deal. I think if they're going to try to play a trick or do something to hide certain cards and get certain concessions for not, President Trump wants to make a fair deal that could be a win-win, but that has to be very basic, and that they have to want to be a real country, which is no nuclear weapons and no funding terror in the region.
By the way, where's the Secretary of State? No one picked Witkoff and Kushner to have this position. They're not appointed. They're not actually official government officials. I mean, why is Donald Trump's son-in-law and some scumbag real estate guy that Donald Trump knew from Manhattan, some scumbag real estate guy? Like, why are these people negotiating? These are not diplomats. They don't know what the hell they're doing. People don't trust them at all. They're liars and they're horrible people. And wherever they go, they bring with them horrific situations. By the way, remember, Iran also warned J.D. Vance, which J.D. Vance denied. Iran sent J.D. Vance a private message accusing Kushner and Witkoff of exploiting inside knowledge from U.S.-Iran negotiations for financial gain and leaking information, according to anonymous Iranian officials. And then J.D. Vance was like, no, that didn't happen. Meanwhile, that like the Witkoff Trump families are doing that World Liberty Financial investment together, which takes in a lot of money from the Middle East. And in the past few days, Trump's World Liberty Financial, this is with Witkoff, got preliminary approval to launch a bank. The Trump regime approved it as a bank. The Office of Comptroller of the Currency gives flagship crypto venture conditional approval to be a trust bank, even though it has no FDIC backing, was hand approved by a Trump political appointee, will operate with zero public information, and it expands the firm's $4 billion stablecoin operation, which is, in my opinion, very unstable, with all the money coming from the Middle East. And then we have General Kellogg, who used to be Trump's envoy to Ukraine, but Putin said, I don't want him. And what Kellogg's saying is what I'm hearing from top military officials. It's this message right here. And he's a top military official also. Here, play this clip.
I think the steep learning curve is with his advisors. Who's advising the president? Have you done this before? And when you look at, like his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and you look at Steve Witkoff, who's the envoy to Russia, what is their diplomatic background? What have they done? They've sold real estate. And I've repeatedly said in public, this is not a business deal. Okay, this is conflict, and you have to understand conflict management and understand the nuances of the relationship with these different foreign leaders. They've got their view. You need to have your view as well.
Here's what Democratic Congress member Adam Smith, who chairs the House Armed Services Committee has to say. He is the ranking member. He will chair it when Democrats take over the House. Let's play it.
Well, it's not surprising because there just hasn't been, I think, a sufficient focus on diplomacy. And I agree with with Brian Kilmeade, the Fox News guy who you quoted. I mean, putting Witkoff and Kushner on this, as well as they're on a half dozen other things where they don't have any experience instead of using the State Department. I mean, the Trump administration hasn't really taken the diplomacy piece of this as seriously as they need to. And these are incredibly complicated negotiations. I mean, before you even get to the nuclear stuff, Iran has a different vision of what opening up the Strait of Hormuz is than we do. Our vision is exactly like it was before the war started. Their vision is it's open, but we control it. That's a very different thing. You need very talented negotiators. So no, I don't think the Trump administration has done the work on diplomacy any more than they did the work to know that this war wasn't going to lead to the result that they wanted.
And here's what Brian Kilmeade from State Regime Media Fox has to say as well. Play this clip.
And I also don't think that Witkoff and Kushner should be the ones doing this. They're business guys. They have not been effective in Ukraine, not been effective in Gaza. They have not been effective in this. They can't have three portfolios to begin with. We have a State Department for a reason. Marco Rubio, even Democrats admit, has been looked at as a genius internationally. He is the guy that most people would want, even if you gave truth serum to Democrats. He should take the lead on this because you can't do this like a business deal. You have to understand the history of the region and how distrustful the Iranians have been. They will only make a decision if they have no other choice.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hey, if you want the full story, how democracy got here and how we take it back, pre-order our new book, WTF America, today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Let's do this.